So, can blockchain be a catalyst for development in Africa? Here is our interview with John Lombella.
It's going to be a pretty unique show where we're talking to digital entrepreneurs and Black entrepreneurs that are actually doing great things. Let it be in the marketing space, let it be in cryptocurrency. And I brought back John Lombella, a good friend of mine who's been playing in that space for quite a while. John Lombella, John is the cryptocurrency guru. I call him like that.
I'm an entrepreneur myself, all the way from South Africa. It is important to always develop new things, right? So ambitiously build new cases beyond just financial services. Yes, we believe in the financial services. I mean, Bitcoin, as a matter of fact, was created as a payment system, a peer-to-peer cash electronic system. It all started from there, but it doesn't have to stop there. Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of the Redefine Your Hustle Show. Today, I'm pretty excited. Man, like really fired up. It's a new month. It's August. And like I love to say, it's a new month and new ideas and new opportunities, but most importantly, a new way to think a little differently. So I know that the pandemic has really gotten a lot of us actually really, slowing down in business, having issues with whether it is work or being laid off at work or trying to figure out exactly how to pivot. This time has been pretty hard. But here's the good news. If you have made it alive up until now on August 3rd, you know what? The one thing you got to do is to really thank the Lord. Why? Because you still have great opportunities for you to be able to accomplish your goals. And maybe during this time over the last 3 or 4 months, you've been able to figure out exactly what it is. What is your purpose in life? What is the reason why you are here on earth? What are you trying to achieve? What is the one thing that God has really put in your heart for you to be able to achieve your goals? All right. And as you know, every Monday, 7 p.m., I am pretty excited to bring to you the world of entrepreneurship, the people that I've been able to engage with around the world as I traveled on all 4 continents. I get excited to kind of bring somebody who can shed some light in terms of what he is doing. But today we have an interesting topic. It's actually it's actually a daring topic whereby we are building the Wall Street of Africa. So for those of you who know, Wall Street is a financial street in New York. And I remember 4 years ago when I jumped on this bandwagon of the whole blockchain world and Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff. One of my goals, one of the things that I put in my mind was, you know what, one day I definitely want to be able to walk the street of Wall Street in New York. That's one. But I also want to be able to rub shoulders with some of the hedge fund managers in New York. That's 2. And I've actually been able to meet some of these guys, but definitely to really play in the financial market. Now, here's the thing. I am a software engineer. I was trained in software development. I am an engineer and architect. So my focus is really building solutions that solve problems, right? That's one. But number 2 as well, I do have corporate investment banking expertise. For some of you who know me, and for those who don't, I am letting you know today that I definitely have a great insight when it comes to the financial market. but most importantly, in the world of investment. So today we are going to be talking about the building of the Wall Street of Africa. And I am very, very excited to bring along on this conversation a good friend of mine. So his name is Derrick Hodge, and he and I met in Los Angeles. We were together in LA last year, October. We went to speak at some of the greatest events, the Crypto Investment Summit in Los Angeles. But also we traveled to the DRC together. Yes, my home country, my country where I actually come from. So he and I traveled all the way there because we're working on some of the greatest opportunity. And as a matter of fact, we will be able to present some of them right now over here. And also we traveled to Dubai together, whereby once again I was speaking at an event, and he was accompanying me. But not only that, we were able to really identify some of the greatest opportunities. So please welcome a good friend as I bring him here on the show. His name is Derrick Hodge, my man.
My man,
What up?
how you
What up?
doing?
What up?
Yes,
My man, I
sir.
love your
It's
background,
good to
man.
be
Gee,
here.
where
It's
are
good
you?
to
I
be
love
here.
your background.
I'm at home.
Lovely,
I'm at
lovely. I
home.
love that, bro.
Appreciate it.
Listen, as I mentioned to you before, this is a show where entrepreneurs meet, discuss opportunities, and present some of their challenges, but at the same time inspire other people to being able to do better. So here it is about you. But as you know, you and I not only are friends, partners, business partners, we're working towards some of the most amazing things that we want to bring in our, we are actually bringing in Africa, right? So I'm pretty
Yeah.
excited about the lineup of conversation we have on the show. So guys, please tell me where you are connecting from. If you are connecting from the US, or if you're connecting from South America, depending on the time, if you're connecting from Asia, Dubai, or Nigeria, the DRC, please put a comment below and show some love. Show some love to Derek. Show some love to the show. I want you to share the show. Share it on your page. You never know, you will be able to win something from me, right? So I've gotten accustomed to Derek. I've gotten accustomed to sharing a gift on the show. But I mean, look, you know Arthur. You haven't written a book so far. So some of the guys that I brought on the show were authors, and I was able to distribute quite a few books. But what I am excited about is you and I really talking about some of in fact, demystifying the whole aspect of blockchain, and what people should be able to understand, right? And how we are seizing these opportunities for us to building the Wall Street of Africa based on the things that you and I are involved in, right? So without further ado, I want you to introduce yourself, man, to the audience.
Well, first of all, John, thank you for having me on your show. Really appreciate it.
Oh, man, brother.
Um, you're doing some incredible work. I mean, to continue to engage the hustlers, the innovators, the entrepreneurs out here, especially during a trying time such as this with the pandemic, uh, economic collapse. Like I tell people, COVID is not just a disease; it's a financial transmitted disease, and it's affecting it's affecting the economy in ways we've never seen before in the history of humanity. And for you to be able to get on here and bring people like myself and other guests to engage and keep the hope and the vision that we can move forward and continue to get wins in a time such as this, that's a very powerful thing. So I appreciate you inviting me and being able to engage and talk to your guests today. All right. As far as Ubuntu Digital is concerned, Ubuntu Digital came about almost a year ago. The president Tshisekedi of Democratic Republic of Congo was this duly elected, kind of like its first democratic election in DRC, which is a milestone accomplishment within itself for knowing the history of DRC and what it's come from. But he came to America, and I was able to actually engage him in an idea, a vision. As you already know, DRC is probably one of the wealthiest countries in the world,
Sure.
having over 24 trillion worth of wealth. But yet it's locked as dead assets or dead capital.
Yeah.
So I got a call from a friend that actually was able to put me in touch with Chesikadi. And when he came over here in April last year, I was able to engage in kind of entertaining with an idea of creating a Wall Street of Africa by being able to use emerging technologies such as blockchain and artificial intelligence to unlock the wealth of his country and
Sure.
create these digital assets so that the world will be able to invest into the DRC, into its people, into these assets, these alternative assets, which, as you see now, I mean, non-cooperative alternative assets is the way to go as we starting to see these constant crashes of NASDAQ and Shanghai and Hong Kong and London. The economy is crashing constantly. So people are looking for non-cooperative assets to invest in, such as precious metals, and DRC is rich in this. So I was able to pretty much pitch this idea to him and start to formulate a private-public partnership, which gave us some type of control to use these technologies here in DRC to unlock the wealth potential of an African country. So that Ubuntu, the core philosophy behind Ubuntu, even the word Ubuntu itself, in reflection of being understanding as a collective. We are, therefore I am. Quite contrary to Western civilization, which thinks I am, I think, therefore I am, which is this isolated individual. We realize the real value comes from collaboration and collectiveness. So Ubuntu expresses that within a very meaningful way. Uh, so it shares that our identity is really a part of, and our values really a part of others, right?
Right.
That's where we get it. And when you succeed, we succeed. So leading with that, we understand that Ubuntu Digital is about humanistic innovation being expressed through digital, a digital economy, a digital technology. So with that, Ubuntu Digital was kind of formed and centered around us being able to unlock the wealth, understand the problems, create digital identities, digital payments, digital, pretty much digital everything, but to
Sure.
lead us towards building a trading platform which will allow the world to, in a decentralized form, by the way. I want to separate that because that's a very critical thing. Centralized, decentralized. Centralized is very manipulated by
Sure.
governments, right? But it allows us to get involved, integrate, invest in Africa, right? Which is going to lead the world, by the way, and the global future is going to lead the world. So this was a huge potential, and I've been working on it for just coming close to a year, and we've been able to get a lot of traction and a lot of things done. But with COVID, of course, a few things have been stymied until we can get back online here. So that's pretty much the Ubuntu Digital Corporation, a multinational corporation from the United States, working with Africa and looking for private public partnerships with these different countries in Africa, and use these digital technologies and leverage them. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Man, that's great. So before I move on to the next topic, I want to ask you, why did you choose? And I know you kind of briefly explained it earlier on, but why did you choose the word Ubuntu? I mean, look, I live in South Africa, and it's an amazing thing that really gets the people of South Africa together, right? And I think you kind of alluded to that earlier on. It's a powerful word over here, where people love the idea of getting together. People love the idea of being able to do things together, right? But first of all, you chose that name for this amazing company, blockchain based, and which we're trying to push in Africa. But at the same time, I think kind of bugs them into my mind to find out whether really people in Africa really actually not only understand the word Ubuntu or actually even working towards that. Okay, we are a as an African continent, we have so many riches. Okay, so many minerals, so many opportunities, so many things we can actually do to change our world and compete with the rest of the world. Tell me really what led you to coming up with that name, Ubuntu.
Oh, great question. A lot of study has been done on Ubuntu, the word itself, because it has such great, profound influence and impact as far as its meaning. When you actually want to start operating in African countries, you have to start to respect and understand the African nuances, why they exist and why they're there, because rooted in these concepts is a way for us to rediscover our own humanity. Currently, technology is like running amok. It's like we can never. It's like almost technology is so far ahead of us, and we haven't developed personally ourselves as well as our governments to actually understand the implications of what technology is leading to. But with us, we wanted to make sure that we are rooted in the aspect of an African concept of personage, that our own personage, our own humanity, to reclaim it is rooted in the fact that we must understand each other collaboratively and collectively. And we must operate with this principle. So for this, looking and shuffling through, Ubuntu means that we're in this together and our problems, that an example in African concept is your problem today, all right, is our problem tomorrow. So if we don't take an invested interest into solving and working together to solve this problem, it's going to be my problem tomorrow. So that's something that a lot of people, a lot of companies or whatnot has moved away from. Now we kind of have it in corporations as economic, social, and governance, ESG, um, which is really a risk mitigation framework that companies are starting to take now to say, hey, there's an economic attractiveness to putting environment first, to putting social causes first, to put governance of how we operate and first. And really that is based on Ubuntu. So when you talk about ESG, which is a leading concept that's permeating through America right now, through even through big corporations, to where it was all before, it was all about uh, shareholders and making money for shareholders. So in disregard to what it did to the environment, disregard to what it did to social, disregard to how we govern the whole supply chain and so forth, and the impact of that. Now there's a great emphasis and great impact uh, that needs to come from having these principles lead and direct these companies. So now it's all about shareholder value. Shareholder value means a consideration to everyone that's part of the chain, that supply chain, and the vendors and all the people that it affects, not just the end customer and the people that own the business. It's not about that anymore. You have to rethink it. So Ubuntu, which is a very deep rooted African concept, is into the surface, and it's now taking lead on how companies should actually be operating going forward. So the reason also it resonated is because we're going to operate in an African country. We need to be able to speak and understand, and them understand what we are and what we're coming to bring. That we are not coming to just bring technology, but to use technology to restore a sense of our humanity, to enable us being humane.
Beautiful, man. So look, I love that. I love that about Ubuntu, and I think it really kind of resonates pretty well. And also, I must admit, you've been a visionary in first of all choosing that name. As being an American-based company that certainly want to be able to do business in Africa, you want to be able to make sure that you speak the African language. Not only that, but you want to be able to make sure that you connect with the African people. Because the last thing that the African people want to do is, hey, you know what? We are sick and tired of having these corporate organizations coming down to Africa and just stealing all our ideas or minerals away and promising us the world, but in the end doing absolutely nothing. And I think that you and I have not only spent some time together, but by the way, I remember the first time that I reached out to you, and I even asked you the question whether you were from the Congo.
Because of my big head, yeah.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Besides that, I want to talk about
You know, I went there when I was there. It felt like home. It felt like home. Like everybody looked like me, which is really great. So I felt good about that. Mhm.
beautiful. Listen, talking about the blockchain space, the tech and everything else. I know you are a tech guy just like myself. You are into blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all that kind of stuff. Come on, why don't you talk a little bit about that to the audience, and tell me exactly what do you do in that space? All right, I think we have a bit of a connection issue right now with
Okay,
Derek.
John, I kind of lost you there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Derek, I can certainly hear you, and please come back online and let's. Well, essentially, what we're trying to discuss right now is Derek and his journey in blockchain and AI as well as machine learning. And I think that I want people to understand exactly as well what machine learning is all about. And if you will, if you can hear me now, why don't you go ahead and talk about that a little bit?
Great. So, yeah, I got into artificial intelligence probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Blockchain around in and around the same time. Um, as you already know, blockchain itself is 11 years since the actual principle of using a peer-to-peer network, the mechanical aspect of using a peer-to-peer network, having an identity using PSK, um, uh, and then having also a protocol. So those three principles formulated what we know today as blockchain.
Private key system. For those
Yeah,
who
I'm
don't know,
sorry. Tech talk.
we want to make sure that
Yeah.
we
So
are with the jargon as possible. So private key system is the ability for you to be able to create that unique key that stores the data on any of the device. All right, allowing you to keep, for example, a password could be part of your your PKS system, and a password with a combination of a hash key or whatever. All of those elements make part of your private key system. But carry on, please.
yeah, so exactly. So now your identity on a blockchain is really in relation to this alphanumeric key, right?
Right.
And as long as you had that key, you can control whatever the value asset was on the ledger, right? So uh, blockchain came in and brought something completely revolutionary. Although the technology, the underlying technology already existed, it was the marriage of these technologies that created something so fascinating that when attributed to economics, allowed us to subvert having to use banks and be able to trade value across a system, a peer-to-peer system, and move money very fast, very quickly. So that was very attractive. So I had to learn as much as I could about that. And then artificial intelligence came in, which is so you're moving from this decentralized to the centralized because AI is a very centralized system of being able to take the data, right, and find, because what AI does is find patterns to the data that's involved, um, and find these correlations of patterns and able to do forecasting, which is most machine learning or deep learning to actually create new patterns or predict new patterns itself. Um, when you when you see that, that begins to take on an aspect of wow, I can do incredible predictions that are so accurate based on known data, um, all the way from being able to predict uh, like diseases, to find new formulations for diseases, to which is very important for COVID. So AI is going to be very important to healthcare, right? Because it speeds up the pharmaceutical process to run these trials and predictions very fast. But you can't really trust them unless you're using this protocol, which is like a notary, the timestamp when things actually occurred, right?
Mhm.
So blockchain can be to that. So what we started seeing is, or what I started seeing in particular was taking these two technologies and kind of converging. So we're really not just dealing with emerging technologies, but converging. And AI, I believe, pretty soon is going to be distributed globally like a global distributed intelligence that's kept using blockchain technology. So it has to become decentralized. So what we're going to see is we're going to see something very interesting emerge where blockchain and AI is going to be decentralized, which means
Yeah.
right now that's going to open up huge alternatives and possibilities for the rest of the world if we can do that. Because right now, some of this AI stuff, even when you deploy it on the scale in which you have to deploy it, the cost factor is so high that it doesn't permit small businesses and stuff to actually be able to use it without going through, a bigger conglomerate such as Microsoft, Google, or so forth, right?
Yeah.
But we're not able to really take advantage of it.
Beautiful. You
Mhm.
know, one question I often get, and by the way, even I don't know if this friend of mine is actually watching the show today. And guys, we love the shows to be interactive. Okay, so today's conversation may be, maybe a bit of a genius type of conversation, but it really is not. We want you to pay very close attention to what we are talking about. We want you to be able to and up to sort of really, we're here to demystify this whole blockchain topic, right? Think about it today. You guys are currently watching this live on Facebook or on Twitter or even on YouTube. But we all know that for you to be live, you need access to the internet. But the question
Yes.
is, how many people really do know how the internet works? How many people around the world today really do have a better understanding of the technicalities of how the internet works? I mean, before you can use an application, before you can even use WhatsApp, do you ask yourself the question, how does this internet work? Or you actually know that you're going to use WhatsApp or Facebook because you want to get on it and send messages to those you want to reach out to, right? And that's exactly what we're trying to achieve here. The blockchain technology is over and beyond the internet. It is a protocol. It is a rail. It is a layer that allows us now to start building applications on top of it for us to be able to achieve anything. And those applications, by the way, are technologies like Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP, Ripple, or anything else that does exist today, including some of those we are going to be talking about right now. So today, a friend of mine actually sent me a message, say, hey, you know what, John? I see you on the magazine. Congratulations, but please tell me really, is this whole blockchain technology really prime for Africa? I mean, we see in Congo, there's places where there's no electricity, there's no internet, and limited access to smartphone devices. Do you really think that this technology is really important for Africa? So the question is, why is blockchain important for Africa? And my response to him was, hey, listen, blockchain technology is the cure medicine for Africa. That's the bottom line. The moment you start understanding that, the moment you really understand that this piece of technology is the cure that will solve some of the many problems in Africa. For example, corruption. Corruption is one.
Oh, let me stop you. Let me stop you. I hate when, you know what, we always hear this when people start talking about Africa, the next word that follows is corruption.
Right.
Well, let me tell you, America can follow. When you speak about America, you can really start talking about corruption on a very,
Right.
very high level. It's there. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want to mention
That's all. So, so,
that.
so that's the question I'm posing to you. So, how can we talk to the audience right now, and kind of mention why is blockchain so important for Africa?
Well, transparency is very important. It's important to every industry, especially in the age of information right now, right? Because you don't
Mhm.
know what information to actually trust, right? So blockchain is without getting into the mechanicals, which isn't really as important as the impact and the benefits of what blockchain does, right? So blockchain is, as you said before, many, many times, is a trust system, right? It is very hard to do business in a world to where you can't trust the next person. This is why we have things like know your customer, right? And anti-money laundering laws is because we need to be able to know who are the people we're dealing with, know where the source of the income and everything is coming from. Blockchain enables that to happen, that transparency layer to happen, right? But why is blockchain important to Africa is because Africa is one of the countries that one of the continents that has multitude of countries that are just plagued with corruption, right? And not knowing where the money's going, not being able to track and trace this stuff. So whether you be an investor, a buyer, or a person that's just transacting, you don't even trust your own government. You see what I mean? And we're having that problem now, by the way. But if blockchain, like voting, right? Voting is an issue. Blockchain can actually come in and help with enabling democracy itself, right? Because it's like a notary. It's time stamping that actual vote and that this person actually voted. And you can do this in real time, or at least near real time. So
Yeah.
voting can enable democracy. I mean, there's a long list. You can go online and find out all the things blockchain can actually enable. But one important thing is you have to enable the economy, right? So when you don't have transparency in the economy, much things aren't going to move. You're not going to unlock the wealth in a country. So blockchain brings us, blockchain protocol is what is going to allow the world and the people of Africa in particular to engage in a global economy and be able to trade things in a very trusted environment, because they're not having to just believe that this money's going to be good tomorrow. Even like the dollar is being debased right now because of the constant printing of the dollar. It's actually becoming debased. It's becoming devalued. The more money you keep putting in circulation, the less my dollar is worth today, right? So now, trust on a blockchain is built on mathematics. And one thing everyone can agree on is that 1 + 1 = 2. We all can agree on the mathematic principles. So the fact that blockchain is built on math makes it more universal. That's number one. Number two, our internet is actually based on math. It's based on prime numbers. That's what keeps the internet protected in such a way, is that it's based on prime numbers. So we're just moving from the trust and belief factor in governments that just says believe it because we're backing it, to actually moving into math and science that is saying that you don't have to trust it. It's mathematically proven, right? And as long as we can continue to do that and move forward on that, it's going to create a better economy for the entire world. So Africa is at a pinnacle because Africa is more adoptive of it than any. There's no other country outside of, let's say, Dubai or Singapore. Two countries, Singapore and Dubai, which you can see their progress over the period of less than 10 years with them adopting these emerging technologies, blockchain being one of it, how it's making their societies happier and it's making their societies better. So if we want a stronger, healthier, happier Africa, we have to adopt this technology. It has to be based on math and not based on belief in a government.
Absolutely. And Veronica, one of the comments that she mentioned right now, she's saying with little knowledge that she has on blockchain, she has about 0.001 Bitcoin. I would assume, Veronica, that you probably bought that for about $100 or $50 or something like that with today's rate. But I feel like blockchain can significantly redistribute. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, guys, we are witnessing the greatest wealth transfer in human history. And this is what I always say when I speak in public, right? When I speak to a large audience. One of the latest, should I say, most recent wealth transfer that happened was probably with the distribution of land, right? But let's look in Africa today. Let's look in South Africa. How much land is being distributed right now to the kids, to the children that are born in the Instagram era, the Snapchat era, the TikTok era? How many of these people have access to land? Now, they have to find better ways or new ways to create wealth. And we also live in a world whereby, just having to own a piece of land is no longer synonymous of having wealth. So you got to find, new ways. And that's what we're talking about, digital wealth. That's what we're talking about, digital gold. Yes, there is traditional gold, but we're also talking about digital gold, right? And people need to be educated about these elements when it comes to that. Another question actually from Donna Shimento, that's my wife, and she's asking the question: what could fast track regulating blockchain in Africa? And that's an interesting question, Derek, because look, this is what I always say to people, right? I don't think, first of all, when we look into Bitcoin as a technology, first of all, guys, look at Bitcoin as a technology first. It is a technology first before you can look at it as money. It is a technology first. Now, as a technology, what is it trying to solve? When you figure out exactly what it tries to solve, then you will actually start understanding, okay, what is the value behind it? What actually makes it really valuable, right? And how are Bitcoin as a reward mechanism or currency being created all the time to reward those who are part of the network and platform. So people need to be educated about that, and it is our responsibility to make that happen. So this is what I often mention to people. I say, by the nature of Bitcoin and similar cryptocurrencies alone, the nature of them is that of a decentralized technology that should not be governed by any centralized body. And because of that, it is difficult or almost impossible to regulate the actual digital currency itself, because by nature, it was created not to be controlled by a third party. But what can be regulated is or are the entities that are creating businesses relying on the blockchain technology and making use of these digital assets. So, in other words, me as a CryptoVex Capital company, I can be regulated. The reason why I should be regulated is because I shouldn't encourage things like money laundering. So if people actually come through to me and say, hey, you know what, John, we know you're in digital asset and so forth, I can just take nobody. I can just take anybody to say to come to my company, my firm, and say, I want to be able to convert this cash and do this. So we have to put mechanism in place, regulation to track the identity of these organizations and to be on the side of the law for us to avoid money laundering or terrorism activities. And that's the only time that people, in fact, those are going to be regulated. So it is regulating entities that are making use of these technologies to actually go on out there and do business. So the one thing that we want to be able to talk about right now, Derek, is what do you think, according to you, are opportunities that can be derived from cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, especially during this pandemic right now? What can we see? What can we tell? And that would be a call for entrepreneurs, right? I mean, those who are, I don't know, man, like they are in whatever field that the blockchain technology is disrupting. What would you say?
Great. What are the opportunities going to be derived? Quite a bit, actually. Right now, first is understanding the complex problem of banking and what's going on in banking. Real quick, just to give a little bit of primer on some of the history. When Bitcoin started back in 2008, 2007, 2008, right? It was because it was coming out of the mortgage meltdown crisis, right? And it was a way to subvert uh, the banking system altogether because it was a very centralized. People was losing faith in it. It was collapsing, and people still needed to move value, right, outside of what this government, who was stealing, literally stealing our money from us, right? So what we're starting to see is that it's a repeat. Here we are, 12 years later. Here we are, and it's repeating itself. The banks are actually going into a credit crunch right now. Moving money is not easy anymore. They're limiting how much money you move. They're delimiting your lines of credit or letters of credit, along with your credit cards, because they're preparing themselves for what's coming down the pike. And what's coming down the pike is that this money is not going to be available for us to move through banking system, through the SWIFT system. It's it's a spaghetti thing. So now the opportunities lie in this. Uh, in order to move money, to move value, you're going to have to adopt the use of these cryptocurrencies and these technologies and these platforms, because the banking system is going to fail you and it's not going to be there to do that. I still want to be able to survive and thrive through this pandemic. So I have to adopt an alternative. So this is
Correct.
the best suitable alternative to be in. Now, where are these opportunities? Where are the real opportunities? How can I position myself? The first thing is it's not only through education of yourself, right? And then educating others about this, but how can I start moving these currencies? Well, I'll give you an example is creating significant platforms or systems. If you have a business and you just can start accepting Bitcoin or accepting cryptocurrency or crypto asset as a payment, you're going to be better off than many people that are just taking dollars in different foreign currencies because those currencies are fluctuating bad, right? And you're going to be a little more stable because what we're starting to see is that as they continue to print these monies, out of control, this unlimited printing, which is part of the industrial period, not the digital era, part of the industrial period, to try to solve 21st century problems using old printing press isn't going to work. But if you can just start taking payments and moving payments, that's going to be one of the biggest challenges. The biggest opportunities for you to do right now. And that means also getting into trading cryptocurrencies because the pairing of the different cryptocurrencies, they're going up. Matter of fact, Bitcoin, the percentage in which you see, they're beating our index every day of the week. They're beating the S&P 500. Bitcoin is beating it. If you was just to buy Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin, right, you would be doing a phenomenal amount of numbers, percentage wise, other than investing in an index fund, right?
Yes.
It's beating our index funds. So if you ask me what opportunities are, is somehow figure out a way, whatever business you're in, how to integrate cryptocurrencies into your operation of acceptance. We start to see it with PayPal. Over here in America, we see it with PayPal, Venmo, MasterCard is trying to get in the game. Everyone, they know they're trying to get in the game. Now Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan and Chase has their own coin, their cryptocurrency coin, just to move payments. Ripple, a matter of fact, is trying to help banks to lubricate the friction that they have with Swift, right? Using this technology. So it'd be a shame if you don't somehow integrate this protocol, this technology, these assets, and these currencies into your operation. If you want to know how, you just got to ask John because it is going to take a way to have to unpack what it is you're actually doing to see what is the best way to integrate this opportunity into your company.
Absolutely, man. And you're quite right. Coming back to Visa and MasterCard, it's quite funny because in 2017, I remember Visa, first of all, actually it was Visa that started out. Visa blocking all companies, actually blocking the processing of cryptocurrencies on their network. And the reason why they did that is because obviously with regard to governments as well, forcing Visa's hand. I mean, obviously for Visa, it will be great business, but various governments around the world are like, hey, you know what? You are the largest payment processor around the world, processing close to $3.5 billion a day. And for you to actually keep allowing folks to convert the fiat currencies into Bitcoin, that's like a currency flight, right? So they didn't want to do that. And what happened in October 2017? Visa banned. I remember it was actually October 15th in 2017. Visa completely banned the use of cryptocurrencies or actually card. And I want to show the audience right now. I'm not sure if I will be able to do that. But for those of you who can see, this is my Visa card that was actually linked to my Bitcoin wallet. Okay. So I've had this card since 2017. Well, don't worry, you can actually copy the numbers, but the card doesn't work anymore. Why? Because Visa blocked this card in 2017. So I can't convert to Bitcoin anymore. So what happened is I would use this card, ladies and gentlemen. I would use, as you can see, it's written international over here. It's written international, but literally I could brand this card with anything else. Could be my name or my company's name or whatever, issuing this card to the public. So what happened? I would use this card, and I remember I used that quite a bit extensively as well. I mean, I would go to restaurants, and I would, especially in the DRC in Congo, I would actually, at the Pullman Hotel and just swipe my card and put my PIN number and pay for the goods, right? Or I would actually go to an ATM, pay for the goods as well, or go to Star Kineko, watch movies with the kids, and swipe and pay. So this is to show you how easy it was for us to be able to monetize the Bitcoin. But then imagine Visa deciding to stop the processing of those cards, and that affected everybody else around the world. And then MasterCard followed suit in December 2017 to do the same thing as well. And that affected pretty much everybody. I mean, we were shut. And because of that, the price of Bitcoin even went down, right? It went down, but you know what? It didn't influence much the perspective or the perception of a lot of people with regard to Bitcoin, because people don't like fiat currencies anymore. People are more interested about, hey, how can they hold these cryptocurrencies as opposed to doing anything else? And but we also saw many other tech companies going around the world and developing new rails and new protocols for people to still be able to have these digital cards. Now, the one thing I want to talk about right now is the concept of the token economy, but also I want to pair that against the current printing of money in the US. Man, I got a report last week. In the month of June or July, I'm not too sure, the US printed more money than it has ever done over the last 2 centuries.
Yeah.
Over $800 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
How, can you explain a little bit, how is that affecting you as a consumer? How is that affecting the economy? Are you guys getting into more debt? This quantitative easing. And the one thing that always puzzles me is this: why is it okay for the US to print so much money, but when a country like Zimbabwe prints more money, they immediately go over hyperinflation and and the currency is completely devalued? It's like almost as if the only people who got the ticket to print more money at will is the United States of America. Can you please explain that? And then we're going to talk about the token economy and why it is a beautiful way to moving away from printed money. Well, the so-called money, people think it is money, that currency, that fiat paper, that I always say cash is trash. That's the reality. Cash is trash. But you know what? As much as we have been told about the concept of money for a very long time, it is actually currency, and currency is stealing money away from you, from all of us. So can you tell me exactly about how this money printing business really is affecting you guys?
Oh yeah. Asking an average American, they're not going to know, right? They're clueless about this. Okay, so just know that you're in good company, or anyone's in good company if they don't understand this concept. What happened is American money used to be backed by gold at one point, right? I'm not going to go too far in the history, but I just want to give a little bit of context. American dollars was printed based on gold, right? Then after a while, in order to create new opportunities and stuff, you have to have credit. You have to have inflation to kind of grow stuff so that opportunities aren't going to come in a very fixed way. So in order to do it, we had to actually take on debt and create credit. And through that, you have to have an inflationary system to kind of grow it, right?
Yeah.
So Nixon came along after this new deal had been formed under Roosevelt, which got people off the gold. Nixon came in and unpegged it from the gold. So now that just gave the government, it says, you ask a question like, why can y'all print as much money as you want? Well, the dollar had become a global reserve after World War II, a significant global reserve, because the belief in it, right? The support that American government is an honest government, that American government has a workforce and a strong economy. And having everybody peg their resources, like such as oil, to a dollar, gave America global dominance, right? So if you think about this, Gaddafi was going to pretty much unpeg it, right? And I'm just giving you a classic example of an African country seeking independence and wanting to get the the knee and the foot off their neck, because America got their foot not just on Black Americans, but over countries around the world using the US dollar.
Gotcha.
And they basically said, we're going to give you the US dollar, allow you to do this and peg your resource to this. So that now you buy, sell, and trade using the US dollar. That gives it legitimacy, that gives it credibility, but it also gives it a high functionality. I mean, when they raided Saddam Hussein, and Saddam Hussein was King Hussein, basically, he had some of his money, but the rest of his money was US dollar. You know, he had these, I mean, pallets and pallets of US dollars because it's a global reserve. China, for every yen that they have a dollar or more to back it up. So they're very solvent that way. So when we even go and sanction countries, when we sanction countries, what we're doing is saying we're going to kick you off our financial network to disable you. And if you're not on this, which we have 55 to 60% dominancy on the global network, that's going to do your country a lot of harm as far as trade. So America was able to create a dominance through having the US dollar as a global reserve. Zimbabwe money is not a global reserve, right? And there was, so just because you have money, you can print it. They obviously showed you that it's because no one believed in Zimbabwe. They have a lot of resources, but it's not a global reserve, right? It's not a trusted global system. All right, so now, where's this going? Why am I saying all this? Is in a nutshell saying this is that there was actually a dollar shortage. Why is an American dollar still doing okay, even though we're printing trillions of dollars in a month? Trillions. We're printing trillions. There was a dollar shortage, and meaning there's not enough based on the derivatives, based on all of the debt that's out there.
Yeah.
There's not enough dollars to cover all the debt, the actual debt, right? So what happened is there's a dollar shortage. And with this dollar shortage, us printing money was just really catching up. But they're still overprinting. And as long as they continue to overprint, it's going to devalue the currency that's already out there. So now when you have a devalued currency, your product is going to cost more because I can't sell this product at the same because the actual value increased. And now what happens is your income didn't increase. You know, if you work a job, your income didn't increase, right? They didn't give you a payment. Some like over here in America, some people haven't gotten pay raises for over 9 years. So they've been stagnant going through this. And the cost of goods have continued to go up. And then you got this hidden tax called inflation. That is hidden tax and inflation, right? This hidden tax, meaning that dollar costs me more than just what it is today. And it's eating away, right? So I give you an example. Let me give you a classic example of something. If I was to have a savings account right now, imagine this, and I put 100,000, and remember they printing all this money, so my 100,000 really isn't worth $100,000 anymore. Tomorrow it's worth less because they keep printing. Inflation is about 3%, right? If inflation is 3% and my bank is only offering me 0.5%,
Sometimes
right?
0.3.
0.05, I'm 205 short of covering inflation. So I'm literally when I open a bank account, I'm giving away money as long as I keep a savings. So here's the point. What am I saying this for is that 100,000 at 0.5%, right? That their bank is giving me for utilizing my money. And I'm also taxed on that 0.5%, by the way. And then inflation at 3 point, I'm giving $3,000 away. So I'm now $97,000 a year later at an APR, right? I'm $3,000 short. I better have that money working for me and not sitting up in a savings account because it's stupid. It's not attacking inflation. Inflation is actually going to go up. With the cost of goods going to go up, you know, America got to find a way to recover it. So they're going to increase taxes. And we're already paying 30-something% taxes. We're going to move up into 40%, which is predatory taxes. There's not a mafia in the world that will tax anybody, giving them protection in anything, 40% of the money they make. There's just no way, right? They will ruin every business. But this is what America's going to do. This is what America's is on the verge of. So now, what is going to be the saving grace? Because really, our government, I'm telling you right now, with the pandemic, our government told us we're on our own. With the economic collapse, our government literally told us we are on our own because they have look. We are the most leading country in developed country out there, rich, supposedly rich, right? Because we can print in as much money as we want, rich. But how we been fighting this pandemic? We've been fighting this pandemic like we're Rwanda. You know what I mean? We've been fighting this pandemic poorly, like like we're an undeveloped country. Because our government has basically given us no leadership and no visionary whatsoever on how to navigate and get through this, and no support. So printing this money is going to put the world who's pegged, all these oil countries that are pegged to it, have to either jump off the dollar or stay on it and sink with it. So you got China, you got Russia, right? That are trying to work with Mexico. They're trying to work a deal to get off the dollar and trade in their own currencies, which make them stronger. And if that happens, our American dollar as a global reserve will continue to slip. And if it slips, it doesn't matter how much money we print. We're going to be in a situation as Zimbabwe. And to be honest with you, when you really look at our political and economic situation, we're already a failed state. America is already a failed state. And we're using technology from an industrial period to think we can solve 21st century issues or global issues. And it's just not possible. But that's just on the printing side. Hopefully that gives a quick overview of where things are and the condition and the state that things are in. I want to talk about the token economy because really that's where the rescue is going to come in at.
Exactly.
Right? Token economy is really saying, hey, I can digitize assets, right? Put them on a blockchain, right? Certify them, put them on a blockchain, and then trade them. Make the digital form of it tradable, which means I take something that is literally like a painting, for instance. Let me just give you this idea. A painting, right, can be tokenized, digital certified, and I can have fractional ownership in paintings. Paintings are usually exclusive to rich people, like the Mona Lisa, Van Goghs. These paintings, you had to be rich to buy these paintings. But now through tokenization, I can actually create shares, fractional shares, and allow a average Joe like me and you to buy in as a non-correlated asset, an alternative asset. So everything that's happening in the market, put money in that and watch the value of that go up. Because I tell you what, gold, paintings, wine, these are non-correlative assets. They're going to continue to increase. And if you can tokenize those things, and they're going to opportunity, you can tokenize art, you can tokenize wine, you can tokenize and allow people to buy in as non-correlative assets. It's going to allow us to create new money and have the underlying asset itself be the base value for what it is, as opposed to the dollar, which has nothing backing it other than the word of the government, which is shit right now.
Yeah, that's what's up. And Olaseni is watching us from Nigeria, all right? So
right.
She's a student and she loves learning, and she's been following the Redefine Your Hustle show diligently every single Monday, and I really thank you for that. And she learns and she asks some of the most amazing questions. Look, the one thing that she's asking right now is whether Africa needs to build more tokens or focus on the evolution of Bitcoin. That's a very interesting question, as a matter of fact.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Listen. So there's variances of tokens out there, right?
Go for it.
Huh? Say that again.
I got some ideas on that, but I want you to go for it. Go for it.
Hey, I'm gonna be brief on it, right? And then I'll let you take in,
Sure.
let you weigh in on that. For me, Africa's big on assets. Create asset-backed tokens. Those are different to just tokens, which is some code that backs, something on a ledger. Create asset-backed tokens. Take the asset, digitize them, unlock and unleash the wealth of Africa through tokenization. Whatever the asset, whatever the commodity, or whatever the asset is, tokenize, and y'all got it. The people of Africa living on that continent, these different countries, have an extraordinary amount of wealth. Matter of fact, the wealth there has supported every country has been has raped and pillaged Africa, and Africa still has plentiful and has created them to be superpowers. Now is the opportunity for Africans from all different countries to digitize these assets, right? Tokenize them, have them as asset backed or asset based tokens, not just tokens that's created out of thin air, but tokens based on assets from land, from art, from even decarbonization waste can be tokenized, believe it or not. And why do I say that? Because the next industrial revolution is Africa. If you are not on that gravy train, if you're not on that train, if you don't have Africa on your roadmap to do business in Africa, you are a failed business before you can come out the gate. Your time have already expired before you come out the gate. Apple, Google, Microsoft, Square, Dorsey, Jack Dorsey, who's over Cash App, or Square, huh? Did I say his name wrong? It's Dorsey, ain't it?
That's right. Jack Dorsey, yeah.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey. He started to spend 6 months in Africa to start figuring out these nuances. And then he's trying to figure a way to bring digital payments, digital currencies, and do it himself. This is a shame. You shouldn't be allowing somebody to come in. You just put in the work, do it here, create the opportunity platform, and you off to the races, because the real wealth, if I want to realize 10x, 100x potential, it's in Africa. It's not in any other country. China's slowing down. It's called constricting, right? It's contracting massively. America has massively contracted more than any time in history. It's 39% contraction we just had this quarter. That's the biggest contraction we ever had in the history of America. So the real opportunities, even though COVID-19 kind of knocked Africa back from most of its accomplishments is made within the past 5 years, it still has the highest potential to do 10x, 100x, 1000x. Tokenize, digitize assets. That's the key.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that brings us to the $24 trillion total available market opportunity. And look, I had the privilege of talking in Dubai. That was in December 8th or 10th December last year, where my topic was exactly on building the Wall Street of Africa, but of course with the DRC in mind, and looking into mineral resources and whatnot. And my first slide showed the DRC's map and the $24 trillion market opportunity. Can we talk a little bit more about that from a mineral perspective? I think we're looking into we're diving into the mineral perspectives of Africa, right? From gold, cobalt, copper, nickel, whatever. So we see the Teslas. I mean, by the way, you've been engaged with Tesla with regard to this project that we've been working on as well. And in terms of the blockchain protocol that we've building, that would allow some of these mining companies to be working with us and tapping into mineral resources out of Africa, right? So particularly the DRC. Can we briefly educate the audience as to why this is such a great opportunity and how we are leveraging technology today in the fourth industrial revolution going into the next to unpack, to unlock these opportunities, creating investment opportunities within Africa, right? So I want us to talk about that a little bit and explain to the audience how retail investors can certainly come in.
Great. Well, here's the thing is, the world with government pressures and regulations are forcing us to go electric. We got to get out of fossil fuels. We got to get away from fossil fuels. That's your oil, your gas, and your oil as a source of energy, right? Because it's creating so much toxicity and pollutions, right? So the Arab world themselves have learned, and this is the first time in history, they went. Not once have Bitcoin. Now keep this in mind. Not once has Bitcoin went below zero. Not once. This is what I'm saying. The dollar that's pegged to the oil went negative below the dollar. That means they couldn't give it away for free. They couldn't give this stuff away for free. where am I going with this? Is when so we know that DRC for me, doing DRC, looking at renewable energies. Renewable energies are supported by precious metals, right? Not precious metals, but these mineral resources that are there in DRC. So
Right.
DRC is actually the battleground, the strategic battleground or fight is going to be fought over certain African countries. DRC is one of the major ones, who supplies not just cobalt, but there's nickel, there's coltan, which is used in all smartphones and so forth. Renewable energies, battery storage and energy is the key to unlocking the future of the next level of humanity and industrial revolution. So governments are forcing, government pressure is making this accelerate a lot faster, which is going to make it worthwhile because regulation is there, right? To get away from these combustible engines and get into these battery vehicles and so forth, which is a lot cleaner, but also to stabilize Africa. Africa not only just needs to be the source of the minerals, but also reap the benefit of using these renewable technologies. So for us, it was saying, hey, look, we got to start at the bare basic, start at the mineral. How can we monopolize? Well, we work with the government. We say, hey, let us be the ones. And this is, I only have to be the only one. You can work out private, public partnerships with governments on doing these assets as well in different various countries. We got DRC on lock, so don't do it. We got DRC on lock, but we got some exclusive rights going on there. But the idea with it is tokenize these resources. This DRC sits on 24 trillion, but it's dead capital. These are dead assets, dead capital. The way to unlock it is to digitize it, tokenize it, so we can create a derivative market from it.
Correct.
To where it can be tradable. Now we can make cobalt, nickel, and everything tradable. But what does that do in return? It creates what is called an open price discovery to happen. Right now, it's lopsided. China takes the supplies out of DRC, and they're monopolizing almost the entire battery industry because they're the mega producers of the batteries for the world, for your smartphones, for your TVs, for your computers, for everything. Pretty much, it's all coming through China. So it's a very lopsided deal. But if you can tokenize it, we can get from dependency on China. Notice our dependency on China's supply chain is what costs the world, right? To shut down the world. I basically said if China sneezes, the whole world gets sick. If China sneezes, the whole world gets sick. If China shuts down the whole world's supply chain because we're so reliant on China, this becomes a national, COVID did it, right? So it exposed this. So now other countries are saying we have to reroute and look at alternatives. We have to find alternative supply chain and not be so reliant on China. It exposed this issue. And with this issue, they're going to go direct to Africa. You want to position yourself with the government to be able to offer these resources directly with them. Now, where's the real arbitrage, right, between the buyer and the seller? Where's the real arbitrage at? Is it with these big multi-billion-dollar multinational companies that are like operating in Africa? No. Why? We got a thing called swipe lines, credit swipe lines, which the dollar is backing, right? Well, let me just say this. Let me back up a little bit and say this before I go. I don't want to go into that because that's too heavy. Let's just say this. The real thing is partnering with the small miners because there's more potential to scale those up. There's more potential for you to partner with them, scale them up to create a higher output and actually get it at a far discounted price. Impact a community. Do it right. Impact a community. You have a social license when you partner with them. Right. Invest in the community and build that community out because they already, DRC's small artisanal miners and small scale miners account for 25-30% of the market. So with us that's going in, partnering with them allows us to garner a large percent of the global market and begin to dictate to that. And scale and with the scaling up, you have to also upscale the people to use these technologies, right? Not just the machinery, but the technologies to make it more of an intelligent, driven mind, data-driven mind. And with that, we'll be able to respond to the global demand for these minerals because no matter what, if we want to power the world and the future technology is going to come back to being able to source those minerals. And that's where we at. That's where the availability and investors are very interested because of our joint ventures with the small scale miners and not the big boys, because the big boys are shut down. They getting pulled out
Sure.
for all types of corruption. Go type in Glencore, look up Glencore, who operates there, and Glencore's, which is located, corporation located out of Swiss, are being investigated for the corruption that they had, the hand that they had in DRC, right? Under Kabila, the former President Kabila, and so forth. So they're not in good shape, and they under so much strain with trying to be more environmentally safe and so forth, that that cost and everything is making it almost not attractive anymore to operate in third world countries. And with that, or under, I just should say, not developed countries or underdeveloped countries, but there's a huge potential to leverage technologies, partner with these small scale miners, upscale these mines, upscale the people, bring in social supports that's needed, and start to dominate globally. This is what opportunities are. We found it here in DRC. I think it's throughout Africa, and that's the potential for any investor that wants to come in, is to start working with that, working with those small scale miners. Yeah.
Look,
I think hopefully that answers it.
No, absolutely. You really hit it on the nail. Really, it's a deep, interesting topic. The majority of the people around the world know very little when it comes to investment or identifying these investment opportunities. And make no mistake, guys, it's one of the reasons for me to launch the Redefine Your Hustle show is to start bringing about this knowledge, to educate you guys, to talk about these things and to answer to some of the most critical questions out there. There's a question from Soweto, Sonzele Majola. I'm going to come back to answering that question, and I believe that question is so important. But before we tap onto that question, and with the ending of the explanation from Derrick just now, I want to swing in and talk exactly about how retail investors can access these investment opportunities in Africa. Now, think about it, right? Can you ask yourself the question, why are we as an African people living in Africa and we don't even know how to invest in our own mineral resources so we can actually make money? But we let the companies like Glencore, Anglo American, Banro, or all these other multinational companies around the world to come and operate in Africa and create this wealth, extracting the gold and the mineral resources, this precious metal, all the way to China. Tesla is buying all these things for their batteries and so forth. All of these devices are created based on in fact, 70% of the minerals, 70% of the components on the device come from the DRC. But you and I, and you, the audience watching on the show right now, cannot even invest in our own mineral resources so we can actually create wealth for ourselves. But we're letting the opportunities go. And that's why today the blockchain technology is here to break that cycle. But breaking the cycle also forces you to understand what really goes behind these opportunities. Not just to follow all these scammy opportunities. I mean, you heard Bitcoin this and Bitcoin is going to 20,000. There goes the FOMO. There goes the fear of missing out, and you're going there and buying it at a high price, or buying from somebody who just lures you because he knows so much. He's luring you into believing in whatever schemes that he's putting together. And in the end, when you're losing money, you come back saying, hey, you know what? I don't believe in digital currencies. I don't believe. Come on, man. Look, first of all, there's scams in everything, be it in the traditional market and in cryptocurrencies. And those who create the scams, these scammy activities, are those who know better than you do. So the first starting point is for you to educate yourself. Cryptocurrencies are here to stay, and the blockchain technology is important.
That's right.
But now, people like Derrick and I and many other folks out there are here to sort of step from the layer 1 protocol and layer 2 to go on a third layer. In other words, start developing applications that would allow you to interact without even having to understand how bloody blockchain technology works. All you gotta do is, okay, I want to invest. I want to buy gold. I'm in South Africa. I'm South African. I want to buy gold in the DRC. I want to invest my money in the DRC by buying gold. Where do I go? And guess what, guys? We will go none other to a platform called AXALIO, which we are going to talk about just now. I want to invest in real estate. Where do I go? I want to invest in a farming product or project from Veronica in Tanzania. Where do I go? So everybody around the world and in Africa and so forth, that unlocks the capital, that unlocks those opportunities. And all of a sudden you have access at the palm of your hand, the greatest investment opportunities that previously were restricted from you. Now, what we're doing right now is we just democratizing these opportunities, right? So you talked about earlier about these mineral guys who represent about 25% of the mineral resources in Africa, in the DRC, competing with the guys like Glencores and them like that. So we want to empower these guys who need access to capital for us to unlock a portion of the $24 trillion total market available opportunity so that we can then create these opportunities. And guess what? There are sheikhs in Dubai and in Saudi Arabia who've got the dollar to wanting to buy these resources. And think about it. That's just how you are moving wealth from one point A to B. In other words, you want to move wealth from the sheikh in Dubai to your pocket. Continue watching the show because we are going to tell you exactly how that works. And that's the reason why Derrick and I embarked on a journey to building the Wall Street of Africa. Man, I want you to chime in there and mention a few words. How can we impact the people out there with the knowledge they need to know? This is a deep conversation. This is an exciting conversation. It may be a high level conversation, but just listen. Listen with the intention to understand. Start probing, asking the right questions for you to be positioned in a way that when a market opportunity comes to you, you know what to do. You know how to identify what is a true opportunity and what is the one thing you can actually embark on a journey to being successful in your own personal financial journey. So that's the reason why we're here. So building the Wall Street of Africa is simply us allowing you guys to see another side of the financial world, but within Africa. Africa can be the richest continent. It is, in fact, the richest continent in the world. I would definitely believe so, but we can certainly unpack and unlock all of these opportunities with a greater continent. From Nigeria, my good friends in Nigeria, all of you, shout out to you guys who are watching this show, to Ghana, to South Africa, to Kenya, man, and all the way to America. Please tell me what do you think the Wall Street of Africa could be as a giveaway to everybody who's listening right now.
Great. Listen, a couple of things is right now, Ubuntu Digital is very poised to be working with President Tshisekedi, who potentially could be also a prime minister for the African Union, which will allow us to take, coattail off of him to get into these other countries, but to bring a digital backbone or platform to where all these assets from all over Africa can be put onto a platform that is supporting for the people and by the people, Ubuntu, essentially, right? What does that also mean? That also means that companies in Africa can actually tokenize their companies. If you want to raise capital and you have work put in and you want the world and you need that capital so you can scale this thing up, we need our own platform that's going to allow you to tokenize the assets of your company, whether it's the assets or the equities, even the debts of your company can be tokenized, put onto the Wall Street of Africa and raise funding or capital. Just like these companies IPO, you're going to be able to IPO right in Africa. And this is going to be game changing because companies, there are some great innovative companies from science technologies that are being developed there within robotics, AI, and so forth. There is great potential there. Like I said, these companies are going to be 10x, 100x, 1000x within just a few years. The only thing that's prohibiting them is capital. So building the Wall Street of Africa is going to allow us to create our own regulation for you to tokenize this, put it on there, and allow the world through this discovery, allow the world to buy into your company. All right. And that keeps you in control without necessarily having to go through VC capital, who kind of, at a certain point, they hedge their bet by, investing in all these companies, hoping one's going to become a unicorn, $1 billion company, but they begin to not really care about your company. Right. So they become innovation killers. Right. We don't want to do that. We want to enable that. That's through the building of Africa. The second part is, if you got assets, if you're a company, a mining company that want to raise capital, you can leverage the equity within your company, the mine itself, to raise capital to get the machinery that is necessary to scale up the mining. That hasn't been done before. Right now, that market, the people that are looking at these private equity funds, they're investing in technology, more so in the US and everywhere else. They're not interested in bringing in equipment to mine. But let me tell you, all that technology comes dependent on hardware. That hardware is then sourced from African countries, these mineral resources, whether it be Africa or South America. It is predominantly sourced from Africa. And it is dependent, and we have to make a gateway, a possibility, in order for us to actually pull ourselves up and self-fund ourselves and allow the world to invest in that. And that's kind of the vision for Wall Street of Africa, that we can do that. We don't have to really rely on third parties or somewhere else to do it. We can do it ourselves. We have the resources, we have the protocols, we have the technology. We just need to do it. And that's just me. John, I know you probably got something to add to that. I missed something.
And this brings me to talking about, this is our baby, building AXALIO digital bank and investment ecosystem. Okay, so AXALIO, for those of you who don't know, stands for African Exchange and Liberal Investment Opportunity. So when I came up with that name in 2016, by the way, the whole idea for me was, after traveling around the world and looking for some of these investment opportunities, I always ask myself the question: why does Africa remains last to be considered when it comes to being able to invest in a global scene? Why? We know one of the first and the most capital intensive market is the US, but why was it difficult for us to be able to have access to these opportunities? And for me, the blockchain technology was the answer to that. The blockchain creating that freedom, the ability to be free of expression, free of being able to do whatever you want to do with your money, but in a way that is secure and understandable to you, and you understand things from start to end. And hence the word liberal, because I want you to be free of being able to invest, free of being able to identify the greatest opportunities, but most importantly, I want you to be able to talk about Africa to the world and invite the world to Africa for to bring in the capital that will boost your economy and allow you to be able to do whatever. For the first time in history, we're able to attract capital from anywhere around the world. So if you have, this morning, I was reviewing 3 great projects looking to raise in the tunes of, one was about 45 million rand and 35 and 5 million rand, right? But we are going to do so utilizing some of the investment mechanism that we've built around our product, our ecosystem, to allow them to raise money. But how do we do that? We are giving you an opportunity to invest and being part of the journey. And that's the reason why AXALIO exists. This is our African digital bank and investment platform. And if you look around, I dare you to go and find something that looked as close as what AXALIO is trying to do. I dare you to go and find it and come and talk to me and say, you know what, John, I found another company that is doing exactly. Go out there in Africa and find out. Go in South Africa and find out. Discovery Bank, I'm doing that for you. All these banks are traditional banks. Time Bank is not doing anything like that for you. And by the way, all of these companies are restricting you to have access to some of the greatest assets in the world, digital currency, right? So AXALIO is bringing some of these innovative initiatives to come and break the status quo and change that particular landscape. And that's the reason why we're here. And this is an introduction. Every Monday, I will be talking a little bit, depending on who I'm bringing on the show, about AXALIO. But you know what? I will have a dedicated Monday where we are talking to you about how we are building AXALIO Digital Bank and Investment Platform. And stay tuned, because we are going to release our first module this quarter, by the way, that focuses entirely on investment. And then there's going to be payments, and then there's going to be the banking mechanism in Q1, and multiple of other features. Q1 of 2021, and multiple other features coming along. So we've got a long, a roadmap, a quite exciting roadmap, and all my African folks from around the continent are pretty excited about this particular project. And not only them, but everybody around the world, including those in Los Angeles, are excited about what we are doing for Africa right now. And that brings me to talking to you about having to invest for a purpose and support entrepreneurs and SMEs. Man, do you want to tell me a little bit more about how do you think we can do that to support these folks in this particular journey? And this is our wrapping conversation.
Great, great. Well, let me tell you this. It's bottom line. The future belongs to visionaries and innovators. It always has, always will. It's those who can solve problems, right? And deliver that to a people. This is by creating that value. So this is who the future belongs to. It doesn't belong to big tech like you think. Don't mistake this, that big corporations, the playing field has been leveled. These corporations have been reliant and dependent on China, and China is constricting. At the same time, there are regulations and sanctions that are happening to your Apples, your Googles, your Microsoft, and so forth. This is about to be, COVID has leveled the playing field. If you're more agile and adaptive to change, you're going to survive this pandemic. And the ones that are there is your small, medium size enterprises and entrepreneurs. So the world is really poised towards those. And as long as you can have innovation and vision, there's a Chinese saying that in the midst of a crisis is opportunity. Understand the plays are at that we're facing, and there's plenty of opportunities to position yourself. Being that you're small, you're more nimble, you're more lean. You can actually change a lot quicker. It's too difficult for bigger companies to make these adjustments across the board, right? So you have an extreme advantage right now that they don't have. And because this gap, because they're closing. That whole brick and mortar, having to have that, now it's all about working remote from home and stuff. As entrepreneurs, we've been doing this for a minute. Because affording the brick and mortar, affording the office, would always take out from us being able to put into our product or service and so forth. And now is the opportunity, because COVID has leveled this playing field for us. And this is me personally. I have a strong affinity right now to invest in innovation and smaller companies. Think about this. Investing in that bank, John got, investing in that bank is going to 100x within a period of a couple of years, because it's servicing the need. It's servicing a necessary need, and it is pandemic proof. These companies out here, it's too late. They're not pandemic proof. Some of them was recession proof, but they were not pandemic proof. And what we've seen is digital technologies has been accelerated. So these companies that kept brushing off and putting off transforming their companies digitally are now suffering the consequence. What COVID has did is shown us and ushered in that we must proactively, aggressively, robustly, digitally transform. And smaller companies and entrepreneurs are easier to do that with than these big companies. So therefore, The win and the victory belongs to those that can innovate and that has vision and is visionary. Because I'm telling you, I'm investing. I'm putting my money in because these are the next Googles. These are the next Apples. These are the ones that can get through a pandemic. And that's what it's going to take nowadays. Because this pandemic, I mean, the recovery is going to be long. It's going to be I'm just guessing. It's going to be 8 to 10 years of a recovery.
Yeah,
And all through those 8 and 10 years, you can thrive. You don't have to learn how. See, these big companies are trying to survive. You can thrive. And there's going to be this gap that you can fill, this void that you can fill. And these customers that are going to be available that are looking for these products. And you want to know where I'm putting my money? I'm putting my money on those people. I'm not putting it on big companies. It's all
that's it.
propped up. In America right now, Federal Reserve is propping up the stock exchange. They're putting money into it. So it's a false sense that, how are these companies during a pandemic that wasn't even operational like Tesla? Tesla wasn't even operational and their stock was going through the roof. Wait a minute. When you
Exactly.
operate, the stock didn't go up, but now you're not operating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
So this disproportionate gap in this economy, and it's just being hyperinflated right now. Don't be fooled by it. We're not doing well. America right now is verging, if not already, on being a failed state. But that's a huge opportunity because the buildings and the customers are not going to go anywhere overnight. You just got to be ready to seize the day, baby. You just got to be ready. Don't back off now. Go full throttle. Go hard and go full throttle. And we always said it, 80% of the Fortune 500 companies here were made through a recession. We're going to be going through a Great Depression. This is the time. This is built for real entrepreneurs, people to get out, small, medium-sized enterprises to really grind it out and seize the moment and become that next Apple, that next Google of the future. All right. So that's me. I'm investing in those companies. That's where I'm putting my dollar at.
Beautiful. I know I got you, man. And you and I are doing some amazing things. So as a wrapping point, we are going to answer the question from Senzeli Magola. I'm going to put it out there and read the question as well again. Look, he's making some great points, man. Like Africa has been backed up by corruption so much that digitizing assets address the issue, this particular issue, and how. So since ownership, and he's got a great point. Since ownership of land is still a big question, particularly in South Africa, right? And what security does this type of economy bring to those that want to invest in assets attached to the land? That's a very, very interesting question. Think about it, because as much as we want to digitize these assets, in the case of land, it's a tricky one. Like yesterday, I was driving through a place called Honeydew, right? And I was amazed by the huge plot, the land that exists out there, the farms, but that are still owned, the majority owned by white folks, pre the apartheid regime and all that kind of stuff. So, and I think his question is so valuable. How can this technology? I wouldn't say I have all the answers right now, because how do you digitize an asset that whose ownership is still controversial, and you're trying to digitize it, giving an opportunity for investment to a whole bunch of folks out there? I think that kind of defeat the purpose, and I think as well a business model behind the model behind the business needs to make sense while we are focusing on the digitizing of that business, right? What's your thought on that, man?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, listen, here's the problem. The complexity with land is that the government, real estate itself, inherently still owned by the government, right? And here in America, they tax you property tax, and it supersedes any other incumbents or liens or mortgages or anything that you have on it, right? If you don't pay them property taxes, I don't care how small it is, you will lose your land. So you really, here in America, we only own what's on top of the land. We don't never ever own the land itself. Unlike the deals that I've been structuring where there's concessions, where there's a leasing of the land, and then that's well documented, and then we can certify those and have those on a blockchain, and then we can put that into a fund, right? And raise money, and people can actually buy into the concession, and then the output of the concession through the mining. That's how we do it. right? So there's well documentation, but for individual land, it becomes extremely hard until you get government participation,
Right.
right? To adopt the technology, that becomes a very hard. Now, it depends on what the land use is for. What makes it economically attractive is what can you produce from the land, and then that's what you begin to tokenize. Is it whatever the commodity or whatever yield that you have from that land? That's what you want to begin to tokenize, right? Now, if you want to sit there and pitch the idea of equity that we're going to use this land to do coffee beans or something of that nature, then you can actually get buy-in and showing that you have control over the land, right? But you can't don't necessarily tokenize the land. You're just exerting the control of the land, show that you can have proof of that, and then I can buy into it, finance it, and help get that coffee bean crop up and going, right? Because listen, I'm telling you right now, Central Africa in that area, which is very arable land, is a huge opportunity because coffee, because of climate change that we're seeing, coffee, which is the number one or number two most consumed drink, especially here in America. Can't speak for the rest of the world, but I think it is. Coffee, uh, if we're having difficulty growing coffee crops, right? Coffee beans, and it's shrinking. The business is shrinking, but all that arable land that's right there from the south going up to Central Africa is huge opportunity to grow that, and then have invest and to redirect the market towards that way. And believe it or not, again, just by having the land, if you can't tokenize the land, look at that assets that can be yield from the land, whether the commodities of some sort, and tokenize that.
Sure, sure.
If that helps. I mean,
There,
outside of that, it's just go ahead.
yeah. Look, this was an amazing session. We've gotten to the end of this conversation. We managed to pretty much talk about anything that we set out to talk about, as well as interact with the audience today. I hope that you guys were really pretty filled by this conversation. Derek, do you have any parting shot word that you want to say to the audience before I let you go?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of protocols out here. Don't get caught up on what the technology itself. Think about a digital strategy, right? De-risk whatever you're doing to optimize your evaluation. And it's more than just the technology. There's so many protocols out here to choose from. But also start to collaborate and coordinate with other people because we're all in this together. And I think you're going to find that there's huge opportunity and synergy when we're working together, and really invest in it and be willing to put in the work. And with that being said, that's the real hustle. I mean, de-risk the project, look at all options here, not just building the technology, but all the other dependencies to optimize your evaluation. And if you can do that, you're going to get more buy-in through investors.
Man,
That's pretty
thank you
good,
very much for
right?
being. I love you, man, and I'll talk to you later, probably in half an hour. And thanks again for accepting this invitation. I look forward to engaging
Matt,
on
thank
to
you
the
for
next.
inviting me. Thank you for inviting me, man. It's great. It's been great. I
Pleasure,
appreciate
Roman.
it, Sean. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think this was a very pretty intense, but at the same time rewarding conversation. I think it's the kind of conversation really that is edifying. It is there to educate. It is there to answer, to demystify a lot of things around some of these technologies and blockchain and whatnot. But we are here to embark on this journey in helping our African communities to not only know about all this, but become participants in the things that we are doing, right? So it is only as successful as you are and become a participant. Think of Facebook, for example. The only reason why Facebook is so powerful today is because it's got an active community of close to 2 billion people active at the same time. And if you take the 2 billion people away from Facebook, Facebook is useless completely. So the power of any ecosystem is also based on the services and the product that we offer. So we strive to being able to offer some of the greatest opportunities there, some of the greatest investment opportunities, product and services, and we hope that you will be able to enjoy what we are building. So our next show on a Monday, I am bringing, I'm bringing Sylvia, Coquetto Sylvia, Nelovich, I believe I pronounced the name right. We are going to talk about her journey from Soshanguve, the township, and how she became a successful real estate property investor. And she and I, and her company and I, are putting together some of the six amazing opportunities from investing. And we hope that this coming Monday you will be able to join us. And the following Monday we are going to talk about the money, winning the money game, and that's going to be a very, very interesting conversation. So until then, I love you all. Thank you very much for being a part of this show, and I look forward to having you next time. All right.
So, can blockchain be a catalyst for development in Africa? Here is our interview with John Lombella.
It's going to be a pretty unique show where we're talking to digital entrepreneurs and black entrepreneurs that are actually doing great things. Let it be in the marketing space, let it be in cryptocurrency. And I brought back John Lombella, a good friend of mine who's been playing in that space for quite a while. John Lombella, John is the cryptocurrency guru. I call him like that.
I'm an entrepreneur myself, all the way from South Africa. It is important to always develop new things, right? So ambitiously build new cases beyond just financial services. Yes, we believe in the financial services. I mean, Bitcoin, as a matter of fact, was created as a payment system, a peer-to-peer cash electronic system. It all started from there, but it doesn't have to stop there.